Hey guys, welcome to greaserookie Garage, where I am restomodding this 1965, oh that lighting looks terrible. I'm currently restomodding this 1965 Mustang, aka the Iron 6. We got a lot of fun stuff this episode. We got a lot of fitment done, and we're gonna shorten the outer wheelhouse by 3/4 of an inch to make it fit the quarter panel. So a lot of good things coming down the pipeline. So all that being said, let's jump into it. I have a goal for this quarter panel install. I don't want to have to take it off and put it on any more than 10 times. This is already number 3. I don't know how many times I did it on the driver's side. Am I crazy? Probably. So if we just nibble off this little bit right here, it should allow this thing to drop down and fit much better. When you first start fitting these things on, there's a series of maneuvers that are very strategical. It's very much like putting on a puzzle. Like this lip has to be bent down underneath there, but I have to have this up and over so that will ride over there, but then this has to make sure that it'll tuck in behind the... It's a lot. Anyway, it will develop though like muscle memory, and as you cut more stuff off and play with it, pretty soon you'll just put it on just like a robot. And I don't really like beating on my new panels, but it's gotta happen. Alright, so already I can tell this needs to be able to drop down. This lip right here and all along in here needs trimmed because it's just not gonna drop. You gotta just take off little bits at a time and sneak up on it. Otherwise, then you're gonna end up having a big gap to weld. It's a wee bit frightening at first, but eventually you just get irritated and start hacking stuff off. That's my general procedure. So I try to just peek back in there and see what I can take off. And just make little nice lines. So this was the 4th time that I put it on, which means I'm going to cut this off, and when I go to fit it back on, it's going to be number 5. Because 4 comes after 5. Or no, 5 comes after 4. We're getting close. Getting close, but we're not there. Just play the game with me. Come on. There you go. That's what you wanted to do. We're close. I think. Could be way off. That feels pretty good, actually. I like it. Back end definitely needs to come up. This little guy here is preventing me from coming up, so I'm probably going to trim some of this off while you guys... You can't see what I'm talking about. I guess my best advice at this point when you reach a stage like this is to just try to read the panel and figure out what's going on. So if I come over to where it meets the B-pillar, what I mean by read the panel is it's tight up here against the B-pillar. Down here, there's a gap. And this isn't back far enough. So we know that the panel has to tip up in the back to remedy this. That makes sense with what I have going on here because there's room to fill this gap with the panel coming up. So I know that lifting the panel up in the back is my next maneuver. Then I just come in and start looking for areas that are hitting. So right in here, things are really tight. And in order to tilt the panel like this area is going to have to shift forward, but it's hitting against this sail panel. The other thing that's going on with that logic that makes sense is right in here, the panels are very tight together. This needs to be trimmed out some to allow this to move forward and kick this back up. I might actually try trimming this out while it's on the car. I haven't done that before, I wanted to do it several times on the driver's side, but I just didn't. Now that I can call myself a little bit more experienced, I think we're gonna go that route. And I didn't have to take a quarter panel off. If I can just get this to pop down. We're really close. Right now, I fixed a lot of the issues. This is running a lot tighter along the B-pillar. But at this point, with the cutting I did, now this has kind of moved into place better, but it's pushed out. So this needs to move over. And it can't do that now because there's still more material that needs removed in here. But you can see some of the cutting I did back here, I took off a little too much. So I just try to be really, really careful when I'm trimming this stuff because I don't want to have to fill gaps any bigger than what I need to. But this is just most definitely the name of the game when you're fitting the panels like this. It's just, I just try to put it on, take it off, trim, put it on, take it off, trim, put it on, take it off, trim, and eventually it'll fit like a glove. I really, really hate myself for ripping this little edge off right here. If I could have just drilled this spot weld out the way I drilled this one out, where it gave me this nice continuous lip over to this corner, because what's happening is every time I try to put this on, this quarter panel falls into this area that I cut open and just wedges and doesn't want to go in, and it's incredibly, incredibly frustrating. Like a glove. Man, that makes me happy. I did this a lot quicker than I did the driver's side, and it is just fitting like a glove. Couldn't look better. Oh, we all make mistakes. For the most part, it's fitting good. And the last main issue here is this bottom lip doesn't want to squeeze in, and I fought this on the other side, and I know exactly what I need to do. I need to cut out the notches a little bit more on this side, and this flange still needs to bend up a good bit. When I do that, this thing should really pop into place, and I will have it fitting well enough that I can mark my lines back here for where this is going to line up with the inside of the drop-off panel here, and then I can fit my wheelhouse, my outer wheelhouse, and see how it lines up with that. I'm like, that's awesome. Good stuff. All right, so it's a new night. I want to demonstrate something quick. I told you the importance of leveling off the car in a previous episode, and I want to show you why. The car is leveled off. I have my laser level set, and right now it is matched up right here. If you can see that, there's the line on this quarter panel. So we know that that quarter panel should be in line with this one. I told you guys that by reading the panel, I knew this back end needed to kick up some. So if we come in here, you don't see the laser level line here. Put your hand right here, and that's instant confirmation that yes, in fact, this back edge needs to get kicked up. So that right there is just an instant confidence booster. I'm making the right decisions. There's no reason why I can't keep moving forward. So with that said, we're gonna pop this thing off, and we're gonna take care of that bottom flange to see if we can't remedy this section. We got a little dip here, it's driving me nuts. It's a little better. It's kind of a mess. I might be making it worse, I don't know, but hey, I'm trying, and I gotta be learning to some degree. It's actually much better. What does they say? Fake it until you make it? I don't want to bend that up too much, but I do want to give myself a little bit of working room to get the quarter panel in here in line, fitting correctly. I can always push this back down a little bit if I need to. But I did bang on this area quite a bit to get the quarter panel off, so it's possible that it was pushed down a little bit. I mean, you guys probably can't see it, but it is moving with each hit. That should definitely help some. This is tricky. Oh, sweet. Sweet baby Jesus. Like, it has to shift back a little bit, but at this point I can probably make some marks to figure out how that wheelhouse is going to come into play. Okay, so yesterday I made it a working evening in the garage where I didn't film. Just wanted to get some things figured out, and here is what I have determined. I now have the wheelhouse fitting pretty good. It's now high enough, so it isn't preventing the quarter panel from raising up where it should be. So this outer wheelhouse is about 1 inch longer than the outer wheelhouse on the full wheelhouse that I installed on the other side. So what I'm gonna do is pop off the quarter panel, and we're gonna remove about, I'm gonna say 3/4 of an inch out of the wheelhouse, and hopefully it'll fit the arch okay in doing that. And I'm not gonna take the full inch off because I wanna be able to spring it in some. So I've already marked with tape right about here. This outer edge is where it starts to travel out. So from probably here over, I'm gonna remove 3/4 of an inch and see what it does. I just took a compass and marked 3/4 of an inch on a tape roll so I can cut this out, and then I will use that to keep the section that I cut out consistent, hopefully, if I can lay the tape in straight. Okay, so when I run this tape in here, I don't wanna run it straight up. I want to run it at the angle in which the radius would be, I believe, if I want it to come together correctly, if I'm doing that right. Let me think about that. Yeah. Let's hope that's the right way to do it. I don't know. That's how it makes sense in my head. This could be completely wrong. But I just want to make it. Live and learn, we'll find out. Boy, I think that fits a lot better. That's the ticket right there, I think. I'm actually going to throw one more tack on that because I really like the way that it's lining up, and I want to give it some strength while it's there. Oh yeah, that lines up about perfect now with the inner wheelhouse. Excellent. Very, very good. Well, let's see how it lines up with the quarter panel. So now the two radiuses of the inner and outer wheelhouse line up almost perfectly. So taking 3/4 of an inch off of the outer wheelhouse was what did it. And you can see in along here now, they line up much better. A very tight fit. And right there is where I need to weld everything up. And we have this outer wheelhouse fitting really good. All right, so we got this patched up, ready to rock and roll. This is about as good as what I'm gonna finish it. I wanted it to be reasonably smooth on the inside and outside, but it doesn't need to be perfect. I will hit both sides with seam sealer before I paint them. The inside is obviously gonna get seam sealer and then there'll be undercoat, so I'm hoping with both of those, you're not even going to be able to tell that this was welded up. You might be able to, and if you can't, I don't care. Again, this whole car is basically going to be, you know, my portfolio of my first year, like learning how to do this stuff for my first project car. So I don't mind having these things, and there'll be reminders of where I want to get better. And I kind of like the idea of little band-aids like this on the car. It gives it character. Alright, so we got this area looking much gooder, and thanks to the trusty 5-in-1 tool that I often use, I was able to scrape off the bulk of the undercoating, and I found in areas where there's a real tight radius, the spot weld breaker worked really well for going along here and getting in these little grooves and stuff and removing the bulk of it. And then I came back obviously with the angle grinder and the wire wheel and stripped the rest of it down. Overall, the inner wheelhouse looks pretty good. The only area that I have to repair, this is the main area that I have to repair. There's a hole right here. I'm just gonna cut out, make this a square section, cut it out, and then I'll make a little template of that. And I can just use this piece of the wheelhouse that I cut off to make that patch. And then I accidentally cut into the inner wheelhouse when I was removing the outer wheelhouse. So I need to press that back together and weld that up. That won't be too bad. Same right in here. I've got to fill in these welds. But for the most part, things are looking good. And I came in and cleaned up all this area. And I'm not going to do anything fancy in here. I'm just removing the surface rust, and I'm hitting it with, I'll clean it up with acetone, and I'll hit it with Rust-Oleum spray. I'm not even going to bother with the POR 15. I'm saving that for the underside of the car. This really isn't going to be exposed to the elements, so that's my plan. This is great progress though. Very happy. Let's continue. Alright, so we got the alignment of the gas tank, the passenger side, trunk floor pan, and the wheelhouse now are all fitting very well. There's still just a few minor things I need to address with this quarter, and the main thing being taking care of this lip so that this can go up in. Pretty much once I get that taken care of, we'll be real close to being able to start welding. There's still a lot of prep that needs to be done, actually, weld through primer, stuff like that, but things are looking good. Initially, with this phase of the project, I was trying to hold off on posting videos until I actually had segments of the car welded in, but it's been 2 weeks since I posted a video, and I got a lot done this episode, especially with shortening that wheelhouse, so I'm going to call it here and post it. Real close to welding in the trunk floor pan and the wheelhouse and the quarter, actually. I don't know if I'll be there in 2 weeks when it's, you know, hopefully time to post again or not, because there's still a lot of little things that need done, but we're close. And after we get this phase of the project done, I don't know where I'm going to go from there, so we'll see. But I appreciate you guys tagging along. You guys are awesome. And until the next episode, stay driven.